pleasure and happiness lifestyle. Lessons from Dan Bilzerian's book, The Setup. This is the third video and probably the last influenced or inspired by Dan Bilzerian's book. Welcome in, fam. Much love, Trav here. I am on my way back from a tour, all-day tour. Still have this cough, but it's getting better. Peak pollen season behind us, which is great. Picked up a French lady, took her to a waterfall, took her to a tourist beach. I went swimming 3 times today, did yoga, worked out on the beach, took her on a ridge hike. She skinned her knee, hopefully at the end there. She slept. We were climbing down to see Spitting Cave, which is an area where, for cliff jumping, where today a lot of waves, big powerful waves. She skinned her knee, so hopefully I don't get a bad review. But yeah, it's like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. Right, it's a Monday, and I'm getting paid to go hiking and hang out and meet new people, go to the beach, go swimming, and it's pretty incredible. I was looking for something different to do, something to change my life, get offline. And my buddy John Pride, I was sitting there at dinner with him, and like, I wanted to be social, I wanted to be outside, I wanted to pay well. And farming was outside and was social. It doesn't pay well, and now it's not social. Okay. Landscaping is outside, and it actually can pay well if you do it right, but it's not very social. And one of you guys in the comments said, yo, you should start a hiking tour business. And I lit up, and 3 months later, man, it's paying all my bills this month. Couple tour, I make like $300. Family of 4, I make like $600 in a day for a tour. Pretty amazing. And the point I want to share with you, we're going to come back to it, but one, think outside the box, think more creatively. Dan's book, for me, also helped think more creatively, because he's lived an extremely creative and different life. And also, not only are the best things in life often free, but a lot of the best things in life will actually pay you. So you get to the end of Dan's book, and he's reflecting on his life, and he's been a hedonist. He's a hedonist. He's a sex addict. He gambles. He drinks. He does steroids. He does drugs. He smokes weed. He takes Quaaludes, and he fucks a lot of girls. And he's not a total degenerate, but he's a sex addict, and he sets up his life in his way where he can have lots of sex with beautiful women that pursue him, and he doesn't have to do any work, and a lot of it is stacking the gender ratio in his favor. So in the end of the book, he's taken things to an extreme where he's on a yacht with one other guy and 30 chicks, and he's hooked up with all 30 of the chicks before. And it turns out to be a nightmare for him, because he's trying to like take mushrooms and chill on the beach, and he's just getting pulled in every direction, and these women are starting to fight each other and get jealous, and he's like, yo, this sucks. And he ends up ditching all the girls and going with just two of the girls, and going off to, I don't know, do whatever. But there's this little passage in the book, that this quote, I had to highlight it, because it's my life, minus the shrooms. I do some occasionally shrooms, but it's been over a year. I'm not a big drug guy, but he says, like, man, he realized he's trying to push his life bigger and better, more girls, more money, bigger houses, bigger yachts, and he finds that none of it's making him happy anymore. He's experiencing a kind of anhedonia where he feels numb, and he has the feeling like, and the realization that pleasure is not happiness, and the question of can money buy happiness money can buy pleasure, but money cannot buy happiness. So he's reflecting on when he's been the happiest, and it wasn't about pleasure. And he said literally he was happy. He felt he was happiest when he was hanging out with his buddies in Hawaii, shrooming, surfing, and hiking. That's what he said. And also he said he was happiest when he was giving back and helping in some way. So, I mean, he had, I don't know how he's doing now, but ungodly money. And he would do charity from time to time. Some of it's giving money away. Some of it was with his time, like helping if there's a national emergency or something. He was a cop. I don't know if he still is. He's a cop in Nevada. And yeah, so, I mean, I read that. I'm like, dude, we're on the same page, man. I'm happiest when I'm surfing and hiking in Hawaii. I don't need the shrooms. I don't need the drugs. But really the best things in life are free or pay you. Because in my case, I'm getting paid to go to the beaches in Hawaii and to go hiking. Not necessarily with my buddies. Sometimes. But yeah, so a lot of what's the key to freedom? So here's another story from the book. In LA, he had a friend named Jax. I think the guy's name was like Jackson something. He was 7 foot NBA player, drafted by the Bulls, power forward, and he ended up playing overseas. And he wasn't a superstar. His contracts at the time, he's making maybe $1 million a year. So he's making a lot of money, but not like crazy money. And during the off season in LA, he'd party and he'd spend all of it, and he'd spend it on people. And he was accustomed to this lifestyle where he's hanging out with celebrities, he's throwing parties, he's hooking up with models, he's hanging out with Dan, he's doing drugs, he's got a nice house, and then he doesn't get picked up, he doesn't get re-signed. And he falls into a depression because he doesn't know what to do. He ends up kind of overdosing on drugs, falls into his pool and drowns. And Dan's reflecting on it and saying, yeah, accidental drowning, but Jax was depressed because when you get accustomed to a certain lifestyle and you cannot afford it anymore, it's really hard on the ego to downsize. It's really hard to go back to a more modest lifestyle. And what's hardest is giving up your freedom and going and getting some kind of job, right? So, and he also reflects that Dan's, a number of his, or at least several of his father's friends killed themselves, losing a bunch of money going bust. His dad was a corporate raider, which was a thing back in those times where you do leverage buyouts and come in and buy a company and then scrap it and then take money for yourself. Dan's dad spent some time in prison related to it. Yeah, so there's some themes here that we're seeing develop, and part of the theme is freedom, right? So, one, Jax was gonna lose his freedom, and he died or killed himself rather than face it. And when you look at Dan's life and where it was headed, of, this is unsustainable, right? He's gonna have to downsize at some point. But he found that downsizing anyways was gonna make him happy. So I can tell you from my experience, let me tell you, I'm 34, I have worked full-time in my life. At 16, in the summer of, when I was 16, I was working full-time running Skyhawk sports camps. I was a sports coach, counselor. I would work full-time in the summers. I was working full-time with Landmark Security. I was a yellow jacket at concerts and festivals. And also in college, during the summer, I was a full-time waiter host in food service. So I have worked full-time. But since I graduated college in the past 12 years, I've only worked full-time for 4 of those years. And those 4 years were working on the farm, which was exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to go all in on farming and experience that lifestyle. So essentially, the 12 years since graduating school, or at least 8 of them, I have not worked full-time. For the most part, I have not worked for anyone else. I've experienced a high degree of freedom. And I did well in crypto in 2020, but initially, and this was different times, because this is, I mean, even 10 years ago, $1,000 is not $1,000, but I was making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. So I wasn't making crazy money, but that was enough and I had tons of free time to move, to travel internationally. Like, you could stay in a hostel, you can stay in a surf lodge for that. You can eat pretty good too. I didn't have a car because it was just plane tickets. So I've had some better years. I made 6 figures one year, and I believe I'm coming into my higher earning years. I'm going to be making 6 figures. Honestly expect to make 7 figures eventually in my 40s. Maybe not my 30s, maybe late 30s, because of the path I'm on with trading. But the point I'm trying to give you is that you get a huge degree of freedom when you reduce your wants. When you want the mortgage, when you want the car payment, when you want all the girls, when you want the fancy watch, right? When you want the yacht, when you want to travel to all these locations, that takes away freedom, right? Again, I talk about this a lot. Some of the most unhappy people I know, married, they own their home on a 30-year mortgage, and they have a car payment. They lose all their freedom. So when you understand the value of freedom, and like me, the car I'm driving, I haven't had any work done in the past year other than change my oil. I spent $1,200 on this beauty. It's ugly on the outside, but freedom, right? Freedom. Do I care about status? There's other ways to flex status. And one of them is walking down the beach at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Another one is getting paid to do it. So, reducing your wants. And a lot of the best things in life are free, right? It's a kickback with friends in the backyard barbecue. It's doing some work that feels charitable, volunteering, exercise always, surfing, hiking. I mean, and what's the difference between like paragliding, skydiving, windsurfing, wake surfing? Surfing's so much fucking cheaper, right? You buy a board one time and it's free forever, right? Wakeboarding, you need a boat. Skydiving, you need a plane, right? So outdoor rock climbing, almost free. Hiking is free, you do it in Tivas. What's the difference between, these are some of the most fun things anyways, but you can adjust your wants to things that are cheaper and free. And it's so much more sustainable. You don't have to work as much. And I can be a hard motherfucker when it comes to work. I'm not gonna act here like I've just been coasting for 12 years, that I haven't had periods where I'm work all the time. But I believe that not all of life should be spent in pursuit of money work. And there's inner work, there's spiritual work, there's work on your body. To me, getting 8 hours of sleep is work, because that's going to contribute to me living a long life. To me, working out is work, taking the time to prep a good, healthy meal is work. I'm not trying to spend all my life in pursuit of money, right? YouTube and online courses is a way to leverage and potentially the difference between making $10,000 a year and $100,000 a year and $1 million a year. The amount of work you put in, it's not about the work you put in necessarily. It's about the pieces you put in place and your execution, right? And same with trading. The difference between making $100,000 a year and losing $100,000 a year has nothing to do with how much time you spend. So I'm out here, I've been doing this, trying to make enough money in the least amount of time possible. That's not everybody's goal. I'll say it again. My goal has been to make enough money in the least amount of time possible so I can spend the rest of my time hanging out with my dog, gardening, hanging out with friends, surfing, hiking, playing basketball, reading books, doing all these other things. And I believe I'm happier for it. I believe I'm healthier for it. Now my priorities are changing a little bit. I'm motivated to make a lot of money. Now, that's going to help me have kids. But understand that it's not going to buy me happiness, and I have to be careful when I make this money that I do not increase my wants and sign on a bunch of mortgages and car payments, because that could make me unhappy, right? And understand the money can be used for pleasure, but happiness, that's not what happiness is, right? Happiness isn't coming from sex with a woman. It can come from good relationship or relationships with women, but it's not the pleasure, right? So when I read his book, and that little bit at the end where he's like, man, I'm chasing bigger, more, it's not making me happy, I'm numb to it. Pleasure is not happiness. Money can't buy happiness, money can buy pleasure. My best times are hiking, surfing in Hawaii. I'm like, I'm fucking winning. Dan Bilzerian done it all. Him living my life he was happiest. My version of life was when he was happiest. So I'm like, yo, we came to the same conclusion. I didn't fuck 10,000 girls to figure that out though. I didn't have to get famous or make a ton of money. But yeah, I feel good about that. Now, I'm not saying you need to move to Hawaii, but I do think some of the keys to happiness, having a high degree of freedom, whatever work you do, it should either make a fuck ton of money in a little bit of time, or it should be extremely purposeful, and you could have a combination of the two. Or it just fits in with your lifestyle exactly, right? Like the tours that I'm doing. So, I mean, if you like to go paddleboarding on the river, yo, go on TripAdvisor, list a tour, start getting paid to do it. You'd be surprised how much you can make. What else can we say? Yeah, it's not right. I mean, you can have a lot of freedom by making a lot of money, but you have more freedom by reducing your wants, because you have the risk of you make the money and you increase your wants, and then you lose the money and you're suicidal and depressed. So yeah, try not to upgrade your expense so much. I mean, the ways to upgrade your life, I think, have a lot to do with deepening relationships and not necessarily more relationships, right? You don't need 1,000 acquaintances. If you have like a group of 6 good friends, you're doing so much better than most people, right? So get outside with friends. That's really, I think if we could summarize what he's saying, like, go outside with friends. That is happiness, and I find that to be true. Going outside, doing outside activities with friends. Oh man, I mean, you get the sunshine, you're regulated, you move, you get the endorphins. And how do you do that? Freedom. And again, I'm all for you making as much money as possible, but it can be a trap. It can be a trap where you make all this money, but you're stuck because of the time it takes to make the money and keep the thing going. I mean, yeah, well, it was cool about... So how did Dan make his money, which gave him the freedom? Well, he made it through poker. It wasn't a trust fund, actually. He made it basically playing high-stakes poker with celebrities, actors, movie producers, and billionaires, and getting into these private cash games. And he made a lot of it on one-on-one games. He made between $40 and $50 million from a man named Alec Kors, so you can look up, he's a billionaire. And eventually, the poker ended for him. It was stressful, and also the jig was kind of up that he was actually good at poker, and people didn't want to play him anymore. And then he made some money in Bitcoin, but he also monetized his life, where he started making like $60,000 an hour from club appearances. So he'd host clubs to bring people out, and he's making like a couple $100,000 in a night for going out and having a club party, and then doing a string of parties. And then he moved on from that to his vape business, Ignite. I don't know how that's doing. People are critical of it. Seems like it's still going. Who knows how he's doing, really, but yeah, I mean, for me, how did I make my freedom money? I didn't make crazy money. One year I did, but yeah, I was like streaming, writing articles in the magic space, and that was, I mean, shit, I was making, again, at the time, my rent was $500, my food was $500, I was making like $2,500. This is in 2014, 10 years ago. I'm working a couple hours a day. And what is my day? At this era, my day was filled with... I had cheap wants at the time. I was an athlete. I wanted to be a pro basketball player. So I would eat a huge breakfast. I'd go to the soccer field with my fun employed friend, or he was in food service, so he would work late, and we'd kind of kick the soccer ball around, and I'd work out, do drills, take some weights in the soccer field, get a bunch of sun, eat another meal. Then I'd go to the gym, and I'd play basketball in the evening for a couple hours. And then on the way back, I'd go to a different gym, and I'd go to the pool, and I'd swim in the pool and go in the jacuzzi massage. Then I would go home. Then I would stream for a couple hours. That was my day. I went travel, moved to California, and then it was like, all right, I'm gonna get a bicycle in my day. I'm gonna cruise around on the bicycle. I'm in the country, so I'm gonna cruise down to the coast. I'm gonna cruise to the beach. I'm gonna go in the ocean. I'm gonna go play basketball. I'm gonna go to the card shop. I'm gonna play cards. What else was I doing at this time? Surfing with my buddy Mike Railton. We'd go surfing, go to like open mic. Read a lot of books during this period. I was reading a lot of books, 3 hours a day, and I was working just a couple hours a day during this time. I'd started an online business where I was selling a subscription service to a Magic the Gathering tournament coaching program. So what I did was what was my schedule? I do YouTube in the morning, and then maybe a couple sales calls, and maybe a meeting, and that was it. And it would take, a couple hours generally. Again, when I was setting it up, I remember the first month I did work insane hours. It wasn't a 40-hour work week, it was an 80-hour work week. So I know how to turn up when I need to, right? When you're launching a business, when I was launching these businesses, even now, work all the time. Then I went from that to traveling the world. That was awesome. All my tattoos are little pieces going into different parlor and in different cities on the last day saying, yo, throw something on. Got to travel the world, go to a lot of countries, and did it right because I was making a little bit more money at that point. Nothing too crazy, but I was doing decent, and everything was a business expense. Moved to Hawaii, 4 years organic farming, which was awesome. It was like getting paid to be outside with my friends. Cut every sunrise in the fields, cut every sunset from the ocean, surf. I worked all the time, but that was exactly what I wanted to do at the time. I was around all these work travelers, traders from everywhere. I met so many beautiful women. Let me talk about that for a moment. Yo, if you're a young man, do woofing. It's awesome. Something like 2/3 of woofers are female. And what you should know about woofers is they're these down-to-earth girls. They're not materialistic at all. They're adventurous. They want to travel. They're usually pretty fit because they're working outside and they care about organic food. It was fucking stupid, man. It's kind of over for where I was, but oh my god, that was a great setup. So yeah, if you're a young man, go woofing. It doesn't need to be in Hawaii, it can be somewhere. But yeah, that's a great way to meet beautiful women and not just try to hook up with them, but make friends and have outside relationships. And honestly, that's one of the things that drew me into farming was, oh my god, that there's some beautiful women here, and they all feel like my people. They're athletes in a way. From that kind of ran its course. I made a bunch of money with Bitcoin, and then went into trading full time, which I didn't do very well those years, but the first couple years I will do great from here on out. I had a lot of fun, again, sometimes working a lot, sometimes just surfing with a lot of it surfing with my friends, volunteer on the farm, potluck, dinner, movie night. Oh man. And now another change with, I'm doing the YouTube, I'm running a couple online businesses, but it's not always that many hours. And today I worked all day. It doesn't really feel like it though. The driving feels like work, but again, I pick someone up, I meet a new person, I hear their story, I take them to a waterfall hike, I take them to a beach, I go swimming in the waterfall hike, I go swimming on the beach hike, or the beach, I take them up a ridge line, maybe we go cliff jumping or something, and I'm paid like, with a couple, $300, or for a family, $600. Yo, that's getting paid. The best things in life can pay you. So let me ask you, how can you get paid to do what you want to do anyways, right? Monetize your life. Dan had this story in there where he made $400,000 in a month playing poker. And he's in there with his professor, and his professor says something to him, and he snaps back, and the professor starts to go in on him, and he's like, yo, I made more in the past month than you're going to make in the next 3 years. And the professor says, well, if you're so rich, why are you here? And he's like, why do you need to be here? And Dan thinks about it, and he's like, you're right. And he walks out, and all the class is cheering, everybody's going wild. And that made me think back to a moment my senior year in university where Yeah. It's the capstone class. It's like the last class in business school. And the professor asks everybody to go around and say, hey, what are you going to do after graduating? And this is business school at University of Washington, Foster School of Business. This is Bill and Mary Gates are there, are donors. This is one of the top business schools that I went to and I graduated from, which is irrelevant because I never used my degree ever. I didn't pick up my diploma. I didn't go to graduation. In the last class, everybody's going around and people are saying, yo, I'm going to Deloitte. I've got a job with Facebook. I've got a job with Yahoo. I've got a job with Microsoft. I've got a job with Google. I've got a job with Bain Consulting. And it gets to me and I say, I'm going to monetize my hobbies. And everybody just stares at me dumbfounded, like, what? And it's a why do you need to be here type of scenario, which is like, yeah, I'm not like you guys. And at this point, I'm already monetizing my hobbies. I'm already writing an article. I'm already getting paid like $250 to write an article. I'm already getting paid $50 an hour to do coaching in the magic space. I already have YouTube ads on and I'm making money depending on my views, right? So be creative, think different. But I'll tell you, if I was trying to keep up, if I got out of school and it's like, all right, I need to get a car payment and a mortgage as soon as possible, I would have taken a much different path, and I probably wouldn't have traveled and lived and moved to so many different places. And instead I kept my wants low of like, I want to be healthy. My want has everything to do with free time, and to this day it does. There's a reason I don't have kids yet, and I want to have kids again, but man, I fucking love freedom and my free time. It is amazing. I have so much freedom in my life. I've enjoyed so much freedom in my life. In one of Dan's interviews, he says, man, you know how many lives I've lived by not having to have a 9 to 5? And that hit me too. Man, so many lives that I've lived, right? All the books I've read, the different travel that I've done, and all the different chapters in my book. And I know some of my friends just had the same corporate job at the same time. And cool, they own a house. And cool, they have a nice car, but they don't have the Rolodex of memories that I have, and they don't have the level of fitness that I have either. So I want to inspire you to live a little bit more creatively, to set aside the pursuit of passion and the pursuit of pleasure and the pursuit of things, and think about the pursuit of freedom and the pursuit of connection. Freedom and connection. Anyways, that's enough rambling. This video is 33 minutes. If you made it to the end, please leave a comment. Let me know that you did. I feel like I shared a lot of gems and interesting things in here. Maybe I'm just tooting my own horn, but I've definitely lived a different life than most people, and I feel extremely blessed, grateful, and happy for it. And yeah, I want to inspire you to start wherever you are. Start living again. Put away that collared shirt. Go with the t-shirt with the saggy neck, and go on an adventure. Invite your friends, invite a couple girls. Do something different. Go backpacking. Go camping. Go hike a mountain. Do something free and adventurous. Okay, appreciate you. Much love. Look forward to talking to you all soon. Peace.